Hello and good morning to all. I am Dhruv, working at MixORG as a project manager. So let me just introduce what does MixORG do. MixORG is an 18-year-old market player in digital marketing, web and mobile application design and development, workshop hosting and ICT technology projects. We have been paramount in the establishment and market penetration of the various public and maybe private brands like NDMA, ADG Group, etc. Currently, we devote our energy in the prestigious European Union's ICT project, formulating as an Indian local coordinator and communication expert. It's a pleasure being here this morning. I am your host and moderator of this webinar. Today, we are very excited to have Mr. Pradeep David, who is the General Manager, Universal Robots South Asia, with us as a speaker. Hello, sir.
Hello, Dhruv.
We also have Shivesh and Ms. Priyanka from NBQP QCI. Hello, ma'am. Hello, Shivesh.
Hello, Dhruv.
So basically, I'll be quickly going through the agenda and theme of the webinar. The theme of the webinar is Cobots Industry 4.0, jointly organized by MixORG, QCI, and NBQP. If you're wondering what is Cobot, I'll just explain you a simple line. A cobot or a collaborative robot is a robot indented to physically interact with human in a shared workspace. Basically, in this webinar, we'll also get to know how cobots will revolutionize industries of the future or maybe the present industries. To make it more realistic, Pradeep will also show us a demo of the cobot, and we can all learn how it can automate some of the tasks in our industries. So quickly going through the agenda, we'll get to know our co-host NBQP and QCI. After that, Pradeep will share his knowledge and insight about cobots. Following which, we'll have a Q&A session where our expert Pradeep will answer the questions about the cobots. And participants, you are requested to send us the questions. Please do not wait to send us the questions via the dialog box or the chat box that you can see. So not wasting any time, let me introduce our speaker of the webinar. Pradeep is the general manager at Universal Robots. He is one of the strong pillars of the company responsible for setting up and running the operations of the Danish company in the South Asian market. He is a qualified expert in robotics and industrial automation. He has a master's in mechanical engineering robotics from Clemson University, South Carolina, USA, and also completed his MBA in international business. Through collaborative robots, he believes in the idea for humans and robots to be interdependent and focus on what each of them does best safely. So let me also introduce our co-host, Ms. Priyanka. She is an engineering graduate with total professional experience of about 12 years. Currently, she's working in capacity of an assistant director in Quality Council of India with NBQP, National Board for Quality Promotion, since last 4 years. Her current responsibilities include conducting capacity building programs under National Quality Campaign, which is one of the prime activities of the board. She's also engaged in handling the annual quality award schemes, quality promotions, through quality month, events for quality professionals. Over to you, Priyanka. You may now give the keynote.
Yeah, thanks, Dhruv, for a nice introduction. So a very good morning to all of you. And I here represent National Board for Quality Promotion, Quality Council of India. QCI is basically the apex body of quality and is designated by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry as the national accreditation body of India. So here in National Board for Quality Promotion, which is a board which is solely dedicated for promoting the quality promotion in all the sectors, we are basically, most importantly, we are focusing around conducting various capacity building programs, focusing on the several industry relevant topics. And as you rightly said, Dhruv, with the advent of Industry 4.0, robotics implementation is gaining momentum. So robotic technologies are new to this enterprise world. It has been there since for quite some time, and basically industries are using it for automating their tasks that is like repetitive or strenuous, or they are not safe. But still we feel as a National Board for Quality Promotion, like there's still a need of propagating the awareness specifically among the small medium enterprises, like how they can deploy these robotics, and most importantly this the new level of technological innovation which is now with the name of Cobots, that is the collaborative robots, how the SMEs can deploy these and increase their efficiency and productivity. So yes, with this objective in mind, we are happy to have a quick webinar on the usefulness of the cobots from the Indian perspective. So I would now hand over to my colleague Shivesh for a brief introduction about QCI. So Dhruv, maybe you can facilitate. Hello.
Hello.
Dhruv, are you there?
Yeah. So I'll just introduce Shivesh to everybody. Shivesh has completed his graduation in BTech from Electronics and Communication, post which he's done a certificate.
Hello. Hello. Hello, Dhruv, are you there? Hello. 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 Hello, Dhruv, we are not able to hear you. Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I got dropped out. I'm really sorry. So I'll just facilitate now. So
Yeah.
just let me introduce Shivesh. Shivesh has completed his graduation in BTech Electronics and Communication Engineering, post which he has done a certification in SCADA and PLC designing with A+ scores, and currently pursuing his MBA in Entrepreneurship Management from IIT Delhi. He is designated as an executive officer in NBQP, QCI, Quality Council of India. He has also conducted various training cum awareness programs on ISO standards and as well as on technical topics. So over to you, Shivesh. Please give us a brief presentation about QCI and NBQP.
Yeah. So once again, good morning to all of you present and attending. I'll just I think that I've made the presenter, and I think you'll be able to see my screen now. I'll be going through a brief presentation about QCI. So there has always been a quest for quality in a country post 1991 economic reforms that were liberalization, privatization, and globalization. It was then the need for establishing a quality framework in our country, for which a cabinet committee was formulated in 1996. All the recommendations from the interested stakeholders, including FICCI, CII, and SOCHM, along with the ministerial boards, finally in January 1997, QCI was registered as a non-for-profit autonomous society under Society Registrations Act 21 of 1860. It is pertinent to mention that the chairman of Quality Council of India is appointed by the Prime Minister of the country. So we have Mr. Adil Zainul Bhai as the current chairman, Quality Council of India, and Dr. RP Singh sir as Secretary General QCI. So this is the organization structure of Quality Council of India. We have a governing body followed by a secretariat, which actually dwells in three major activities. One is that of accreditation, second is of quality promotion, and third is the special project groups that this body undertakes. So for accreditation, we have got 4 dedicated boards. National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, and National Accreditation Board for Testing and Collaboration Laboratories. We have got one board, the board from which we hail from, National Board for Quality Promotion, solely dedicated to promote quality in all spheres of life, adhering itself to the motto of QCI, that is creating an ecosystem for quality in the country. And for under special project groups, we have PPID, PADD, and Z division, indulging in various citizen-centric projects as and when required. So quickly about our board. So we promote quality as all walks in life, as I mentioned earlier. We promote quality using two basic components. That is through application of quality management standards and statistical quality, enabling the industry to provide quality competitiveness in general and in SME sector in particular. Also empower the consumers to demand quality from suppliers. So we have with us Mr. Abhik Mitra as our senior advisor, Mr. Sunil Mathur sir as the chairman, and Mr. C.K. Biswas as the CEO of our board. So these are the various activities of NBQP. We have National Quality Campaign, under which we organize and conduct workshops on ISO and technical topics. We celebrate November as Quality Month, wherein we actually invite the applications and conduct various competitions, give away the prizes in order to establish a well-structured form of quality. We, as far as the award is concerned, we have two awards. That is Quality DL Shah Award. We have recently launched the 13th cycle of Quality DL Shah Awards, for which we are actually inviting applications across the board. And under conclaves, we have national quality conclaves and regional quality conclaves occurring in various months of the year. We undertake various citizen-centric projects. We publish our Quality India magazine and Quality Best Practices award-winning case studies of the DL Shah Awards. We are also a national monitoring implementation unit for Z programs, as far as the Z industry awareness, as well as 5-day training programs for master trainers, assessors, and MSME DIs are concerned. So we have also with us the registration schemes for 5 different categories, that is of individual, corporate, hospital, education, and NGO. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dhruv. Hello.
Yes, Shivesh. So
Yeah.
thank you, Shivesh, for welcoming all the attendees and letting us know about NBQP and QCI. Moving on, we have Pradeep with us, eagerly waiting to showcase us the new era where robots and humans will share the shared space. Over to you, Pradeep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dhruv. This is Pradeep David. I'm with Universal Robots and the General Manager of South Asian Operations. Hopefully you can hear me, and I'm now going to show my screen, which should be available to you now. Could somebody just confirm that the PowerPoint is showing?
Yes, Pradeep, we can see you. You can see the screen.
You can see the screen. Okay, thank you. So, okay, so what we're going to talk about today is collaborative robots, or cobots, in short form. And essentially what these devices are, actually you see one behind me, hopefully you can see that. It's a very user-friendly device where, the old robotic, the idea of robots is about 60 years old, and robots were operated inside cages, and there was safety associated with them. These things are extremely safe. They work right next to you, like on my desk. So this could be an assistant to an operator, essentially, right? So when a human and robot work together, there's many things that can happen. For example, screwdriving applications, for example, assembly of parts, where a lot of human labor is required, and you suffer because of the quality that humans inherently have some poor quality, especially if you're working 8 to 10 hour shifts together, you get tired. So all these things kind of go away when a human and robot work together. Now, very quickly, robots in India are not very popular. As you can see by this chart, the global average of per 10,000 employees in the shop floor is about 74, whereas in India, that average is only 3. So we are 25 times below the global average in terms of robot adaptation. That's because robots have not been very popular in India. And however, when you see this buzz, you look at all these articles happening in Economic Times and Financial Express and the Hindu and all these things, you hear a lot happening with cobots. A silent cobot revolution is brewing in Indian workspaces, right? On the right-hand side, you actually see an operator who's got a teach pendant in his hand, and he's operating right next to a collaborative robot, right? So once again, a collaborative robot is just like a human arm. Think of it as a human arm with 6 degrees of freedom, and each of these blue caps that you see is one of the axes, right, which you can control. And it's basically, imagine that you had a third arm. What could you do with it? You could, and this arm never gets tired. It can operate at 100 micron accuracy, and it can repeatably do the same thing. You program a motion, it just replays it over and over again. And what we'll show you here in a minute is what happens if you accidentally bump into it, So we're going to have somebody just show you if, for example, you're working next to the cobot, and by accident you bump into it. What happens? Let's see. So the robot is working, and it comes into contact with the person, and it just stops, right? So what you have to do now, the operator just picks up the teach pendant and hits the restart button, essentially, and the robot begins to play from where it stopped, right? So this is an example of a collaborative robot protective stop. There's a lot of technology built into this. It's called a force-limited robot, wherein it senses it needs to have been at a certain location. It senses that I'm not in that location and therefore stops, right? So you can see it's extremely safe to work alongside human beings. So getting back to my presentation now. Yeah. If you look at Frost & Sullivan, they have put out the 50 disruptive technologies of last year. Okay, so you can see things like blockchain, 5G, so many different technologies that we read about every day, artificial intelligence, advanced batteries, right? But if you go to this space right here, which talks about advanced manufacturing and automation, there's one area that's highlighted, and that's called collaborative robots. So what are collaborative robots once again, and why are they in the 50 disruptive technologies of the year? Okay, that's what we're here to learn about. So one very important slide that I just picked up from the Economic Times just a few days ago, incentives on cards to push Industry 4.0. We don't see this very often in India, where the government is actually putting in efforts to help SMEs, people who want to start their journey on Industry 4.0 to modernize their facilities. There are actually now benefits devised by the Niti Aayog unit of the government, wherein MSMEs are given incentives to embark on this journey of Industry 4.0. So why is this relevant? Industry 4.0 is defined by McKinsey, one of the famous consultants, as something that has 26 levers, 26 different compartments to it. It could be smart energy consumption, it could be routing flexibility, machine flexibility, etc. But if we focus on the labor area, there's one thing that juts out right here, and that is human-robot collaboration. Okay, so the definition of Industry 4.0, one of the definitions is the use of human and robots working together. Why? Because there are dramatic improvements in productivity and quality that are possible when a human and a robot work together. Okay? In fact, there are statements made like this: Industry 4.0 is the only way to ensure you have a future in manufacturing. And we are seeing more and more people embrace this journey on Industry 4.0. And this device right here is an Industry 4.0 compatible device, because the control system that drives this, it's got Ethernet, it's got TCP/IP, it's got Profinet, and it's got Modbus. all the different connectivities that you expect on a shop floor is inbuilt into the robot. Okay. This robot comes with a little control box like this. You can't see it, it's under my desk right now. But this is nothing but a PLC. And this PLC has all the control systems built into it. Now, when you look at this picture here, you see on the left-hand side an industrial robot, and you see on the right-hand side a collaborative robot. What's the first thing that jumps out at you when you see these two pictures? I presume it's this fencing, right? So an industrial robot used to kill people, right? It operates very fast and stuff, but it's also dangerous. So always there had to be protective fencing, which basically meant I used up a lot of space on the shop floor. You don't need to do that with a collaborative robot because it's designed from ground up. Every motor is designed that it can't crush you, and it's safe. Okay, so that's the first difference you see, is the amount of space. The second is, also notice that he's got it on a trolley here, and he moves it from machine to machine. You can almost think of a cobot. It's so lightweight, by the way. This one behind me weighs something like 11 kgs. It's a 3-kilogram payload and weighs just 11 kilograms. Just carry it by one hand and walk around, right? This is a slightly bigger one. He's put it on a trolley and he's moving it around. So you can now consider it as part of your operational expenses and not a piece of capital expenditure. Today, if you want to put a robot in your plant, you have to assign, okay, let's say 50 lakhs of capex, and you have to get that justified and put in. And it's a pretty expensive device, and it doesn't move from there. It's only going to do that same chore that you designed it for. However, a cobot, you can use it in one location today, and the same shift, I can move it to a different location. I could be using it to load and unload a machine at one stage. I can be using it to dispense glue at a different machine, right? So these are the benefits of a cobot, where the flexibility of operation is inherent in its design. The third thing is the programming of a cobot can be done by the operator himself. You don't need to have a person who's been to some kind of robot school, wherein this robot is, you need to learn some fancy programming and safety techniques. The collaborative robot is so simple that we would actually do the, so we're actually going to demonstrate this right now. And we've got an instructor here for collaborative robots, Dhruv Singh, who's going to show somebody who has probably never used a cobot before, right? How to program this. So let's take a few steps to see how you can show 2 points to the cobot, and the cobot then learns the path of motion and repeats it. So Adya, can you show how this is done?
So, make a new program.
Loudly, Karan.
Stop. Yeah. So now click on new and click on program. So it will ask to create a new program now.
Speak
Click on discard changes.
Speak carefully.
And now you can click on move. So you're gonna move in 3 different spaces. Maybe move J, which is joint motion, move L, which is linear, and move P, which is process. So right now you're doing a move J, and there's a free drive button at the back. If you show it on the screen, you press this button, and you can move the robot with your hand. So you can grab the robot and then teach 1 point. Say click on green, OK, and you can add another waypoint there. And you can again same as set this waypoint. Press the free drive and then move the robot to the other side. Yeah. Click OK. You can add 1 more point if you want. Set. Make it go down there. Yes. Okay. Now your points are set. You can hit on play. So ask for the first location. The finger on auto. Go on the. Yeah. Now you can hit play again. Done. So this is how you can make a very simple program of 3 waypoints. And you can control the speed. If you drive down the speed, then it's working very slow. And you can increase the speed as per your application. Thank you.
Adya, what does the teach panel looks like to show our viewers? Okay, so just to me it looks like an iPad. So very simple, some simple graphics there. And have you had any programming experience, Adya?
No, never.
So that's good. So it's almost like a cell phone wherein, thank you, thanks a lot. So I think hopefully you saw how simple that was to operate. somebody without any robot programming experience was able to program, because after all, what does a robot do? A robot, you tell it to go to a location, pick up a part, go to another location, drop it there. So that's exactly what she just ended up showing you, right? Okay. So let's go back to the presentation now. And the standard that this follows is called the ISO TS 15066 standard. This is a kind of a new standard. It only happened in February 2016. Because before this, the standards always had robots caged, because robots used to kill people, so robots were separated from human beings. But since the standard or technical specification was passed in 2016, robots and humans can work together. So here's a typical example. This is in China. A human and a robot, a human and a robot, and a human and robot are interspersed into an assembly line of the future. Okay. So this has been substantiated by a study at MIT Technologies, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where there's a professor who did a study at a BMW factory. And she did a study where only robots worked in this BMW factory. And she did another study where there were only human beings. And there was a third study where humans and robots worked together. And in the third case, where the two worked together, there was an 85% reduction in the idle time. Okay, there was a huge benefit in terms of productivity and quality that they saw just by having robots and humans work together. Okay, so this is what we call the connected workforce. There is a problem sometimes when you over-automate a factory. You may have heard of the story in Tesla, where they actually over-automated the factory and they lost flexibility doing that. So the fact is, you do need a robot to do what a robot does well, which is repetitive motion without getting tired. Whereas you also need a human being's intelligence, because gone are the days where I'm going to make the same part, hundreds and millions of the same part. Basically, due to personalized, the internet, we started becoming much more choosy as customers, and we want to customize the product we order. Therefore, lot sizes are small. You need flexibility in manufacturing to handle it. So that flexibility is best provided by a human brain, which is part of this whole process of robots and humans working together. Okay. So with that, I will take a small question break here. Is there any question anybody has before we go on to showing some videos of actual use cases of cobots? Any question I can answer? Dhruv, maybe I'll turn it to you. Okay, so maybe we'll wait for questions at the end. And what I'll do then is go further through the presentation, and I'll just check 1 second to make sure that the camera is working properly. You can see the video, the robot behind me. Okay, that's good. And all right. So what are the main benefits of a cobot? Number one, I plug it right into the wall. Okay, it's similar to a drill. I don't need three-phase power. It's very simple to program. You just saw Adya program this with a few clicks on a teach pendant, and we have every axis can move plus or minus 360 degrees. Okay, every axis can move plus or minus 360 degrees, which makes it very powerful. It also can be redeployed from location to location. Notice that in this case, the robot is hanging on the ceiling. It doesn't have to be on the floor only. It can be machine mounted. It can be ceiling mounted, etc. And it's very, very low power consumption. In fact, this one you see behind me only consumes something like 100 watts of power, which is very, very small, something like your light bulb. A traditional robot may consume a kilowatt or 1.5 kilowatts of power. So there's a tremendous amount of savings in just power consumption over the life of the cobot, which could be 8 to 10 years possibly. Okay. While it looks very simple, there's about 65 patents that make this technology work. Okay, so it's an extremely complex piece of machinery, and that's why it's pretty new. A lot of things in robot safety, to have a human and a machine work in close proximity safely is quite a feat. Okay. And there's about 34,000 of these devices now deployed around the globe, so it's an extremely successful invention. And here's some videos that you can see. In this case, Bajaj Auto, it's actually doing some bolt tightening. It's picking up a bolt, finding the location where the bolt has to be tightened, and it's tightening it. Here's another bolt tightening application where this woman, she used to tighten 800 bolts a day. Today, the robot is sensing where the bolt needs to be tightened, tightens it to the right Newton meters, and this information is logged back at the database against the VIN number of the vehicle. Extremely good for a quality control perspective. The next one you can see here, it's just loading and unloading a CNC machine, and you notice an operator, this happens to be in Ahmedabad, is actually programming the machine. Like I said, you don't need a robot programmer to do it. The bottom right here, this lady is working in Chennai, and she's taking dal packets, and she used to load these dal packets into a sack day in and day out. Today, all she has to do is bring a sack in, and the robot does the heavy lifting, puts all the dal packets inside. All she has to do is take out the sack when it's done. The one out here is I think a SME, a small and medium enterprise. You can see it's a small shop floor. You can see it's pretty crowded, not very clean, but it's giving the efficiencies to a small manufacturer. I guess the important point is here, you don't need to be a telco or a Tata or a Bajaj only to afford a cobot. If you're a small manufacturer, you need good, effective loading and unloading. You've got labor problems. You've got consistency issues. You've got quality issues. An investment of about 20 lakhs is enough to get you started on your journey towards Industry 4.0 and human-robot collaboration. Okay. So cobots, we call them the big equalizer. Okay, it's not just the big OEMs, but the smaller tier 1s and tier 2s can afford this technology too. Like I said, an average of about 20 lakhs is enough to get started. This one is even less. It's a UR3, it's a slightly smaller one. Yeah. Here are some more pictures at what we have done. This is at L'Oreal, where it was doing a palletizing application. This is a really neat video where I know you can't hear the video, but we have links of this. Whereas, okay, I'm going to move on because excuse me for that, but you can see in this one there's money, an ATM machine, and the robot is hanging upside down. It's handling the notes, the bundle of notes. It's putting it in different pockets. There are clean notes, dirty notes, doing a separation before sorting. Here it's a machine tending application. You can see this lady here used to work in this place before. Now she's become a robot programmer because it's so simple to do, made her life much easier. It's like a tool for her to do her job better. Okay. So this is at one of the SMEs that we're doing business with in Jamshedpur. 150 people in the company. This is the owner. He's very proudly now an owner of about 8 cobots. This was what his factory looked like in 1996. He had aspirations to make it a world-class manufacturer, so he bought some cobots. And as soon as he put the first cobot in, he realized that his bottleneck moved from one end to another end of the shop floor because the cobots were so efficient, working night and day. Notice one little cobot right here is servicing 2 different CNC machines. Okay, and this is his son, very proudly the owner of Cobots now. But long story short, these are his operators. You can see they are not educated people or anything. They're just people from the village. They have now been trained to operate the robot, to program it, to change it for the different parts they have. Okay. So there's, I think I may have skipped over it. Here's the lady talking. She's one of the workers. She's been trained now how to program the cobot. So the efficiency has gone up, the quality has gone up, and the productivity has skyrocketed. Okay, and he's been able to pay back these robots very quickly. This is a slightly bigger plan. This shows human and robots working together. Notice that these bottles are being collated, put into a box. They could have automated the box opening process. It would have cost more money. Maybe they'll do that at a different phase. But today, an operator is standing there holding the box open, and the robot is putting the whatever these things are in, right? So you can see partial automation is possible. And as these boxes go towards the end of line, we have a process called the end of line palletizing. The robot picks up these boxes and stacks them in a certain pallet, completely without any human intervention. Okay. And while those people are out on coffee break, doesn't matter, as these boxes of, let's say, shampoos or diapers or sanitary products or whatever it is are coming down the line, the cobot keeps working, keeps palletizing. This cobot happens to be on a 7th axis. It moves up and down also because the stack height is pretty tall, you can see here. Okay, and when one side is filled, the fork truck comes and takes it away, and the other one is still operating. Okay, so huge savings in terms of labor and continuous production. Moving on, there are some more examples here. You can see picking up glass. A very simple application. I don't need a big structure. I just mount the cobot next to it, put a vacuum suction cup. Here you can see it's glass glazings. The windshield of your cars and trucks and tractors. There's a certain glue that has to be dispensed very accurately before it's put onto the windshield. And that is being done by the cobot. You can see the cobot with the glue dispensing happening here. In this one, you can see an inspection application. Instead of having multiple cameras, the cobot moves the camera to the sidewall of the tire, to the tread of the tire, etc. Right? And you can do inspection. The bottom one is actually doing automated screwing of your aircraft wings. How many hundreds and thousands of screws are there at the right location? So this is an R&D project that Airbus is doing, where they take a robot, put it on an autonomous platform. From a CAD drawing, it actually goes and finds out where it needs to put the screws and does it very accurately. Okay. This one is just a typical machine tending application. And finally, we have a very famous person, Jeff Bezos, you can see, using our cobots, okay, at one of the shows just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, haptics. So it's very cool stuff, very popular with many people. Just to give you a quick view of many different applications. And we have, for example, polishing going on out here, okay? Another example of laptop manufacturing out here. So instead of, this happens to be China, the laptops are handled. Many jobs have to be manually done, but the screwing applications, checking of the PCBs, all that is done automatically, and the cobots, about 60 of them in one plant, is doing a lot of the work alongside the human being. Okay. Moving on, what type of applications can a cobot do? It can do all these applications, machine tending, assembly, pick and place, quality, screw driving, injection molding, etc. There's a really, think of it as a tool in your toolbox. What do you want it to do today? You can show it how to do it, and it will repeat those motions just like we showed you in the programming a little while ago. Okay. What's common in these pictures? Anything that strikes you as common in these 6 pictures? You see, there's no men in this, right? There's only women, and this is our women empowerment team. So because cobots are so easy to use, many places are employing a lot of women. For example, Bajaj has a mandate to employ 50% women labor. So the cobot is assisting her while she's doing the screw drive, the inspection, and it now allows manufacturers to hire from a much larger pool, right? You have women you can hire from. India is one of the lowest users of women workers in manufacturing. It's about 27%. So here's a huge opportunity for manufacturers and for women to find work and excel at it. Okay. This is an example in Orolab. This is actually 90% women, where they used cobots, and their quality went up so high that instead of supplying these lenses only to the Arvind Eye Hospital, they are now shipping it to 150 different countries. Okay. And for those who thought robots take jobs, they used to have 10 people, today they have 700 people. They're so efficient in manufacturing. They've gone from 150 lenses a day to 10,000 lenses per day. So the number of people employed had to go up dramatically for this to happen, right? So robots don't take jobs. It's poor management decisions that take jobs. In fact, robots help you be more effective, keep your doors open, help your business to grow and survive and thrive. Okay. So with that, here's a couple more videos. You can see in this one, this BMW cars, you can see there's 4 cobots around with laser cameras. It's doing the gap inspection to make sure that the gap is exactly the same throughout the car. Okay, you can see the cameras are actually looking at the gap and feeding it to dashboard. And actually there's a human inspector also side by side doing his work, because the robot is safe to work with. You can see here the dashboard, everything is green, so the car is passed. On the right hand side, that's myself again with a robot that's making omelets. Okay, so here's a UR3, very similar to the one you see behind me at a hotel in Singapore. It's doing all the motions. In fact, you go to YouTube, type in Universal Robots Omelette or something like that, you'll see this video. It's done by Gadgetwala, etc., where the robot is making omelettes and sunny side up at a hotel in Singapore. Okay. Again, human robots working together. The human happens to be a chef here, and the robot is helping the chef with his work. Okay. We also have the latest version of this, which is called the E series, where instead of 100 micron accuracy, this goes down to 50 micron accuracy. In fact, 30 micron accuracy in some cases. So without going into too much detail, there is something E is the enhanced series of cobots, a little more precise. Okay, but this is what is important. This entire ecosystem is supported by what's called UR+. Think about it as an app store, very similar to your Android app store or your Apple app store. So if I want to buy a 2-finger gripper or a 3-finger gripper, or I want to buy a specific camera or a 2D camera or a 3D camera, I can do that by just going into the store, because we have exposed the SDK on how these things work to various developers around the world. And they use this very effectively to build, there's about 200 products available, okay? So you can choose a camera that you want, pick it up, hook it up to the robot. It will now show up on the teach pendant of the robot. So it's totally integrated with the collaborative robot, all right? And you have a choice of 200 to 300 different products depending on your requirement. Okay, so we call it Universal Robots Plus, where Universal Robots is kind of the platform. It provides just the robot arm, and it does the testing for all these. Finally, it shows you all the vendors that have developed products that work with it, like an app store, and you can buy these products directly from those vendors if you choose. Okay, this makes your integration cost dramatically go down, because if I need a robot with touch sensing, a robot cannot feel like us human beings, so I want it with touch sensing. There are touch sensors. I need it with eyes because it, a camera. You can do that, etc. There are so many different things you can do to enhance the capability of the robot, depending on what you're trying to do. And finally, for those who are interested in this, you can just go up to the website, Universal Robots, and there's about 6 modules. It takes you about 2 to 3 hours to go online, each module 9 to 10 minutes, and you can learn about robotics, and it'll even give you a little certificate at the end that you've passed a little course online on how to program cobots. Okay, so that's called Academy. It's free of cost. Please feel free to go and visit this. And it's really cool technology. I mean, you're a young person figuring out what you want to do. MIT Technology looks at some of the smartest companies in the globe with the coolest technologies. I'm sure you agree Tesla has some cool technology, right? I think you know that Apple has great technology. If you have an iPhone, or Amazon has great, Google has great technology. We use it every day. Facebook is kind of cool. IBM has good stuff. But along with all this, there is something called Universal Robots. Okay, you don't see the large company names like a Fanuc or a KUKA or something, but you do see Universal Robots. Why? Because collaborative robots is some of the coolest and smartest technologies available to you today. Right? So with that, there's some pictures here. You can see in Germany, Angela Merkel with our cobot, President Xi Jinping, our own Dharmendra Pradhan when he was industry in charge, he's with the Cobot. Our Danish, Her Royal Highness, the Cobot is pouring a glass of wine for her. It's really popular. It can be used in so many different things. So if there's anything you've taken away from this whole presentation, I would say, think of the Cobot to be another part of your toolbox. Just like your spanner or your drill like that, the Cobot is just the next tool in your toolbox. Okay. With that, we'll open it up to questions. Dhruv, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeep, for sharing all these insights. And I was thinking about the same thing, that this is just like an app store. You have given all these SDKs to people, and people can get it to a new level. So they can just put it into some jugaad and maybe frugal innovations that they can come up with, and they can basically lower down their time and pricing, so that it can
Yes.
help the industry.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right, because we have even a doctor is looking at this to do some innovative medical procedures that he wants to do remotely using a cobot. So because the SDK is available, he's able to interface it with some of his equipment. I didn't talk about brain surgery. This cobot can actually do brain surgery too. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So basically people are asking, first of all, some basic questions like what is industry 4.0. So can I
Yes,
answer this question, please?
certainly. So
So
industry, yeah, go ahead, please.
basically the one of the panel, the attendees is asking, what do you mean by 4.0?
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me just bring up that slide. Okay, so Industry 4.0, if you just Google it, it's been the buzzword for the last 5 years in industry. What is 4.0? Well, that stands for the fourth industrial revolution. You all remember the first industrial revolution, where 90% of us in the 1800s, our forefathers at least, used to work in the field to feed their stomachs, right? 90% of the jobs were farmers. And then came the automatic thresher, and they started automating the lines there, and people started moving into factories. Like Ford created the the whole assembly line, for example, right, of Ford cars, and that was Industry
Yeah.
2.0. And then Industry 3.0 came many years later, where PLCs were developed, and computerization, and CNC machines, where no longer do you have a manual lathe which I have to manually control. I just program it, and it develops. It can turn out 500 products. Machined with a computer intelligence. That happened about 30 years ago. Industry 4.0 is based on smart manufacturing. It's based on smart devices. It's based, even your own cell phone, for example, is a smart device. You can take your pedometer, and it counts the number of steps and puts that in your cell phone, right? Every device today is connected. Your refrigerator, maybe the next generation, will be connected. It'll tell you that it's short of Coke in the fridge, for example, or milk, right? It will send you a message that I'm short of milk. So these are all the things that constitute Industry 4.0. In the shop floor, this is how Industry 4.0 is defined, as shown on the screen, right? It has things like remote maintenance. If I have a machine, I don't need to rely on the guy from Germany who supplied it to me. I can give him a port, and he can come in with his computer, diagnose the entire machine, and tell me what's wrong with it and fix it remotely, right? That's all these things are part of Industry 4.0. There's 26 levers, okay, that define Industry 4.0. One of these levers happens to be human-robot collaboration. Hopefully that explains what Industry 4.0 is.
Yeah. So the next question is from Venkata Rajaman. So he's asking, how do we select an application of a cobot? So basically, it's how does it fit into the Indian system, and how he can be, being in a manufacturing unit, he can
Yes.
apply these cobots.
Excellent question. Okay, so let me go back to, I think I've shown you many pictures of Indian industries using this, right? You've seen, for example, this one right here. All different industries of different sizes using it, right? So the slide which will best help you make up your mind where you want to use it in your factory is this. These are the typical applications of a cobot, okay? I'll start from the right-hand side, which is machine tending. If you're doing a lot of machining, I'm taking a part, and the part is within 10 kilograms in weight, and somebody has to load that part into the machine. After the machining is done, I have to unload the part and put it somewhere. That's called machine tending, right? Machine load, unload. That's probably 50% of the reason these things are used all over in India too. Okay, you can just go into, we'll share a web link with you after this, wherein you can see all these several videos. Okay, so the machine tending. Assembly is the next big application. So for example, Bajaj Auto is using this to make their auto rickshaws or two-wheelers. And I showed a few videos where you could see the women where the screwing was going on. That's assembly of parts. So critical assembly is going on. Human labor is a little dangerous out there because they may not do the same thing over and over again correctly, especially when it comes to 8-hour shifts. So assembly is becoming a very large one. Even in electronics assembly, even your cell phone assembly, your laptop assembly, all these things are happening, And part of assembly is inspection, because nowadays several vehicles, there's automotive manufacturers and others have gone through incredible expense where people have returned cars or they've had to do a lot of rework, which they could have avoided all this cost if they had just done some extra quality inspection while the product was being made. Like the video I showed you on the gap check for the BMW cars, right? So more and more people are using it for quality. Pick and place is standard. If I've got an operator moving an object from here to there all day long, and for that I've got 150 people employed, they're frankly not adding much value, right? A cobot like this is designed to do that very easily, similar to palletizing. Take this box from here, move it there onto the pallet, or from that pallet, depalletizing. I've got stuff in the pallet, and I need to take out the individual bottles from there and feed it into my assembly line, right? Pick and place. Very, very common application for cobot usage. Screw driving is growing like crazy. Just repetitive work of driving screws through something. Gluing and dispensing is another big one. Okay, so hopefully this explains to you where you can use a cobot. There's many more applications, many more, but in the shop floor, typically these are the major categories.
So basically in this question, you have also maybe answered Saurav's questions. So he was asking how do you can, he was asking what are the various applications he can use as a cobot?
Correct. So frankly, I don't know which industry Saurav is working in, but like I said, even doctors are using it, chefs are using it. This has been used in fashion shows. Let me show you one very quick video where you can see in a fashion show like this in Paris. Okay, so you can see here while the models are walking up and down the ramp that the robot is actually, the cobot is holding a camera. So instead of having a cameraman in front, you can see the cobot is handling the camera. It's also used in the Olympics. It's also used in your Champions League matches, where now the camera is being remotely controlled by a joystick. And in this case, it's a fashion studio, but you can also do this in sporting events, right? So frankly, the sky is the limit where you can use this, which industry you can use it. It's being used in theater today. It's being used in retail stores to advertise products. So we used it in the IPL. I don't know if you've got cricket fans listening, but while Bangalore didn't do too well, we did have something like this as cheerleaders at, oh, this is the bartender. So in this case, at the 40,000 rupee special booth, you can come and an iPad, select I want a beer or a wine, and the robot now picks up the in this case, Scotch bottle and measures it out, 30 or a 60, and hands it over to you. Okay. So to answer your question, it's not only in manufacturing, it's in many different types of industries. It's just your imagination where you can use this, how creative you are. Yeah.
Next in line is, hello, Pradeep, can you hear me?
Any other questions?
Yeah, so there is one question from the audience. It's like, how do a cobot fit into the Indian landscape where there is an abundance of labor, and will it take the labor out of the work?
Dhruv, I think you're saying something, but I can't hear you.
So I'll repeat the question. How do cobots fit into the Indian landscape where there is an abundance of labor, and can it take the jobs away?
I have muted my. Okay.
So I'm repeating the question, Pradeep. The question is, how do cobots fit into the Indian landscape where there is an abundance of labor, and can it take the jobs away as well?
Okay, that's a very good question. We have an abundance of labor, but do we have an abundance of quality? That's the question I would ask you. Which Indian product do we know of globally as, hey, this is the best car in the world? You know, we know that German cars are probably the best quality, Japanese cars. But from India, do you really know of products that are world class? And I would say yes. We have an example of Orolab, wherein we made these intraocular lenses using cobots that were made so well that they are exported to 150 different countries, right? They created jobs. So it's not like make in India means make in India with just a labor who earns nothing, just move apart from here to there. Make in India means add value to the products, make it competitive globally, not just in India, make it competitive globally. And that's how your business will thrive, by better quality, better productivity, right? And by upskilling people from what they were doing, you know, to becoming robot programmers and robot supervisors. We have done that time and time again, several videos that we've shown you. So while the threat, it's an imagined perception that the robot is going to come and steal my job. If you step back one step further, you will see that robots are not just protecting your job, helping you keep your jobs alive for the next 5 years. It's helping you expand and stay competitive on the global scale.
Nice. So similar question, the follow-up question somebody's asking, some Venkataraman. So he's asking, so you have, you know, explained most of the things that, you know, many industry can use the cobot. So how will it impact the cost in car servicing or a service station? But because he's a dealer, so will it, you know, be a cost effectiveness will be there because we have a cheap labor?
Yes. So the cheap labor only goes so far, correct? I mean, I have a car which, for example, when I send it for servicing, you can only find out a cheap labor cannot solve that problem. It connects to a computer, and the computer diagnoses it, and you know, within a few minutes, it'll tell him this is the part that's wrong. For that, you need a trained technician to do that. You know, so as we are moving up the supply chain, as we're moving up to more complex products, you have to take labor along with you. You know, so that's why we're saying, for example, in Orolab, I go back to the one where they're making lenses. These girls are 18 to 20 years old. They've got a high school education. They are no longer people who are moving apart from here to there. They're robot programmers. They're able to program a machine. In fact, they're doing it so successfully that they've actually wiped out their competition. You know, there's the people who are making cobots, the old the intraocular lenses, the old way. They've been wiped out because the quality of their product is not keeping up to international standards, right? So as people embrace this technology, a rising tide carries all boats, as they say. People's skill levels go up and they have much better jobs. And we're seeing no people have been displaced. And you know, we've deployed almost 1,000 cobots in India right now, and we haven't seen people being displaced because of it. They've just been moved to a better job because of using cobots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will put Shivesh also on the line. Shivesh, you can ask your question, please.
Is the hello?
Yeah,
hi,
Shivesh,
Shivesh,
you're audible.
Yeah. So I just have one question regarding the cobots and the topics that you have explained. Particularly in India, sir, under Make in India regime, we have the SME sector. So is the intervention of cobots possible in the SME sector as well? And if the answer is yes, kindly explain the budgetary implications. Because in the SME sector, we have a major problem of the allocated budget. And the owners of that sector, they're actually concerned about the profits at the end of the day. So is the intervention of cobots possible in the sector? And if yes, please explain the budgetary implication. Please throw some light upon that.
Certainly. So I would go back to the slide that I showed a little while ago, Economic Times. You notice it was only on June 11th, which is just about a week ago, this article came out. And it talks about adoption of this standard is expected to give a huge boost to micro, small, and medium enterprises, right? So the government is now offering initiatives to SMEs to begin their journey towards Industry 4.0. So if we had a project where we were doing a machine load unload at an SME in Jamshedpur, let's say, and the project was 20 lakhs, the person could take this to the government now and say, look, I'm modernizing, I'm coming into Industry 4.0, and the government is offering subsidies to SMEs and MSMEs particularly, as you can see here, right, for the use of such sensors, actuators, and drives, right, which is what a cobot is. So I'm very, very proud to say that our government is supporting the MSMEs. And if you had asked me 2 years ago, can you tell me which MSMEs in India are using it, I may not have had too many answers for you there, right? However, in the last 2 years, last 2 to 3 years, a lot of SMEs are using it. You see, almost everyone in this picture that you see here is SMEs. This one is Shruti Engineers, which has 20 people. Catty has about 50 people working there. New Engineering has 150 people. This is an SME, right? And they can afford robots. Udayam Dal, a small little place in so answer is this technology is affordable by SMEs. And number two, the government is helping SMEs deploy such technologies. Cost implication approximately 20 lakhs. You can get started.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, sir, we have one more question from our audience. So basically, when it comes to India, we are, very cost effective, and, we have a mindset that money is everything. So he's asking, what is the maintenance and service intervals for the cobot arm? And is there a special engineering person required for the installation?
Very good question. So let's see, I'll answer that with two things. Number one, you saw Karan back there who did the presentation, right? So Karan used to work at a standard robot company in their service department. And some of their main revenue stream was every year you have to pay an AMC, an annual maintenance contract, where the grease is changed or the oil is changed, some recalibration has to be done. And every year you have to pay that 1 lakh or whatever, 1.5 lakhs for that work. The beauty of what you see behind me, there is no AMC. Okay, it is a zero maintenance machine. You do not have to buy an annual maintenance. In fact, there is no such thing as an annual maintenance contract, right? So it's a fit and forget device. There's no battery to be changed. There is no service requirements for it. If this joint fails for some reason, there's 3 bolts there. You take it out. The entire assembly comes out. You put another one in, and within 45 minutes you're up and running. Okay. So, and does it take a very skilled person to install this? That is the next question. And let me just show you a very quick video on that so that you can gauge for yourself. Okay. Okay. So here is an example. Notice the operator carries it in by hand. It's so light. So do I need an engineer to install it? No, the operator is installing it by himself. And he then puts a gripper on. And because of the UR Plus that I told you about, the App Store, when he plugs it into the PLC at the back, you can see the safety IO, the digital IO is gray. It now shows up on the teach pendant. And he can now control the gripper. And by manually moving it to the location, he's now programming it. He's teaching it where the part is. Please notice, this is not an engineer. This guy is an operator of a machine. And within a few minutes, he has got the robot set up and loading parts and unloading parts from a CNC machine. Parts are now being unloaded.
आवाज चली गई उनकी.
Okay, so hopefully you got to see that. That was a video basically that showed how an operator can install a cobot in a matter of 20 to 25 minutes with a little bit of training and set it up on a shop floor. So you don't need an engineer, you don't need a sophisticated team to do this. A lot of it is do it yourself.
Thank you, sir, for sharing all these videos and maybe answering all these questions. So there are no more questions right now. If somebody wants to ask the question, please do send us the questions. Shivesh, if you have any more questions, please do ask.
Yeah, I see one question that's been asked there, and it says,
Yeah,
what security
please,
risks
Hi,
does an enterprise?
Pradeep.
Hello.
Yeah, Pradeep, I just have one quick question. Like while deploying the solution, the collaborative robots, does an enterprise needs to be aware about any security risk? Like maybe it may be pertaining to the information security or maybe any legal implications that an enterprise needs to consider before having the solution deployed in their organization.
Yes, so I mean, like any computer system, there are certain risks and things that you need to be careful about. So it's no different than like when you deploy a PLC on your shop floor, right? What is a PLC after all? A PLC is some device on your computer network. The cobot is nothing but another device, another Internet of Things, IIoT as they call it, Industrial Internet of Things. It's another Industry 4.0 device on your network. So the very same security that you have for things like smart devices on your factory floor, and they call it like the onion layer, where you have layers and layers of security. That still you need to have in your plant. You need to have the firewalls. You need to have the ports for that. For if you need, for example, for remote diagnostics, IT needs to make sure that that particular port is opened out to a particular person, and not just leave it open for the rest of the world to attack. So yes, the standard things that you do with computers to protect your, let's say a laptop or a PLC, you need to do that with this device too.
Okay. So SMEs need to ensure that they have a very robust information like infrastructure, technology infrastructure in place in order to deploy these kind of solutions.
No. If they want to do remote diagnostics and stuff, for example, if the SME only wants to do a production on that CNC machine, it's a standalone unit. There's no issue of connectivity there because it's a standalone loading and unloading that CNC machine. It's not talking to anything else outside the plant. There's no security issue there. It's when you decide to put it on your plant intranet, which is now exposed to the internet outside, that you need to worry about the security part. Yes.
Okay. Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
sir, you were taking some questions.
No, just that one. I just read that one about security. It was showed up on my message box too.
Okay. So, guys, any more questions that you have, please send it to us right now. We can. Mr. Pradeep is, eagerly here to sum up all these things. So.
Yeah, if there are no questions, I would like to just encourage your listeners to. There are so many videos I showed there. Actually, I only showed you little glimpses. If something was of interest to you, brain surgery, let's say, just go onto YouTube, type in universal robots, brain surgery, something like that. There are thousands of videos showing universal robots doing fancy things. Like for example, in warehousing, IIT Kanpur students took the robot and they used it for the Amazon pick challenge. So it's deployed, while we say it's very simple, an operator can use it. If you want to take it to the higher end, I want to configure it through Python programming and not use the teach menu, you can do that. Okay, so while we talk about ease of programming, if you're a very smart guy and you want to do high-level programming with it, you can do that too.
So to sum up all these cobots, I'll just quickly go through your learnings that I have been taking into. So these robots can be used into all kinds of industries which have like manual labors, and they have these mundane tasks, and this can be done via robot very quickly. And these can work, maybe 24/7. They don't have to, stop. They can work all day, all night. And basically, we don't need any special kind of programming, and no special skills are required to just program this cobot.
Yes.
And basically the industries can be any, some can be mechanical industries, some can be like Amazon can use it in delivery system, and you showed us many videos where Bajaj is using all kind of women to do their job.
Yes.
Cobots is helping all these people. So I guess most of the questions have been answered. So, sir, can you sum up this session for us?
Yeah, so in summary, I would like to say that, I'm an automation veteran, you can call it. 30 years of my career has been in helping automate in various aspects, PLCs, drive systems, etc. There is no industry that is growing at the rate that a cobot is growing. Cobots, for the last 5 years, if you look at the studies, have been growing at a 65 to 70% compound annual growth rate. Most industries, if they're growing at 15 to 20%, are considered spectacular in automation. So there is absolutely nothing in automation which is growing at this phenomenal pace. That's why I'm so excited about it. It's even growing at a faster pace in India because we are behind, and people are suddenly realizing that we can make dramatic strides in our productivity and quality, and it's affordable. 20 lakhs is not unaffordable today, even at the SME level. So people are realizing that we can embark on this journey of Industry 4.0, which the government also is helping us in now, and it's nothing to be scared about. These things are not going to kill you. They're working next to you. They're flexible. If I make a mistake and buy a 20 lakh machine for this operation, I've not messed up big time because I can take it, redeploy it somewhere else. All right. It's not like one of those robots which is fixed for one particular application only. So the barrier to entry is extremely low. It's extremely easy to use, and I think I'm very, very positive that it's going to be used highly in India.
Okay, sir. I would like to thanks everybody. First of all, Mr. Pradeep David for being with us for an hour or so. So explaining all these cobots and everything to us in a very, very effective and a very energy with lots of energy. And second, our co-host NBQP and QCI for hosting this webinar. So thank you all for all this. I would also like to thank all these participants and attendees who have given so much of questions to us. So it was very entertaining, and we learned about most of the cobots and where it can be used. So last thing I want to share is, like, we'll send this video to everybody so that they can have this in their mail IDs, and we'll share all these questions to the panelists as well as the attendees, so that they can go there, and we'll also share the contacts so that you can connect with each other, and hope we have some synergies after this webinar. So thank you all. So we'll just shut down this GoToWebinar thing, and the webinar can be over. Thank you, sir, and thank you NBQP and QCI.
Thank you, and thank you for Mr. Chandarbi to introduce us to you for this.
Great pleasure to you, sir.